charging infrastructure hinders EV uptake. By Susan Foreman. In late 2024, Manningham Council announced it had partnered with Jolt Charger and EV Networks to install public electric vehicle (EV) charging stations across Manningham. Reporting at the time suggested this was actioned by responses to the 2023 Manningham Community Survey. For Warrandyte, the chargers were to be located at the Yarra Street car park. At the time, the diary asked Council for the specific location and also suggested maybe the Warrandyte Community Centre car park would be a better location. Krishan Subrayan, Acting Director City Services, provided this response in October 2024.
The exact location of Warrandyte's new public electric vehicle charger is not yet confirmed. We are currently investigating the feasibility of placing a charger for one parking bay at the front car park near 258 to 260 Yarra Street, Bridge Shops. This will require a planning permit and power supply approval before it can be finalised. This commercial location has been selected as it suits the planning permit requirements for the proposed charger, Jolt Charge, and has access to a suitable power supply. This fast charger would provide each customer with charge for up to 50 kilometres of range for free each day. To subsidise this free service, the Jolt charger includes a digital advertising screen that will display static images.
The electronic advertising was of concern to the community, as it went against the township's heritage and character overlays. Mr. Subrayan went on to say,
"The car park at the Warrandyte Community Centre was initially considered. However, given the planning requirements for this style of charger, we are proposing to place it in a more commercial area."
Council indicated the chargers would be installed in 2025 and that there would be further community consultation. Fast forward to 2026, and Warrandyte does not have any public EV charging stations. A response from Manningham Council to a follow-up from the Warrandyte Community Association that was shared with the diary says that, due to planning overlays, a solution for the commercial partners could not be found in Warrandyte, but that Council was still investigating other options, such as the Warrandyte Community Centre car park. The Warrandyte Community Association says there is a large uptake of EVs in Warrandyte and that a lack of public charging stations is having a detrimental effect on the township community, as visitors and workers do not have any way to top up their EV locally. After seeing a doubling of the numbers of EVs bought in March 2026 compared to the previous year, Federal Chamber of Automotive Industries Chief Executive Tony Webber said the March report showed strong growth in EV demand, but cautioned that the increase may reflect short-term influences.
It is too early to determine whether this represents a structural shift in the market. More consumers are considering EVs due to the disruption of fuel supply caused by conflict in the Middle East, along with the review into the fringe benefits tax concessions for EVs.
Mr. Webber said. He said a long-term shift to EVs in Australia requires better adoption of public charging infrastructure.
Ensuring infrastructure keeps pace with consumer demand will be critical to enabling sustainable growth in EV adoption beyond short-term influences.
The diary wants to know, is there more appetite for EV in Warrandyte, and do we need to sacrifice what few public parking spaces there are to accommodate tourists' EVs? To help understand the benefits of owning an EV and how it has changed over the last decade, Rotary Club of Warrandyte Domvale co-president Reg Ellery provided an account of his experience with EVs. Owning an electric vehicle in Warrandyte in 2026. Talking Point by Reg Ellery.
Most people, when they ride in an electric vehicle for the first time, are struck by the silence. It's a bit strange and unexpected, even if you know beforehand that that's how it is. They usually say things like, "This is really weird," in reference to the absence of the usual sounds like engine noise and changing of gears, the noises we've grown accustomed to when travelling in a petrol-powered vehicle. You can almost hear the penny drop. The EVs are something altogether different. Of course, people ask the usual questions like, how far can you go on a single charge? And how long does it take to charge? I was no different, despite having done a fair amount of research and despite being firmly convinced that I was ready and eager for the transition from internal combustion engine to EV. Today, my wife and I are proud owners of an MG4, and needless to say, we are very happy with it. We were eager to buy it, and it was part of the first shipments of MG4s to our part of the world. In part, the reason we chose an MG4 was that we had set ourselves an arbitrary threshold, that we would wait until there was an EV on the market with a price tag below $40,000. The MG4 was among the first to break that barrier. That was September 2023, nearly 3 years ago. In 2026, the number of EV sales is increasing. According to the Federal Chamber of Automotive Industries, 15,839 EVs were sold in March 2026, accounting for 14.6% of total vehicle sales, up from 7.5% in March 2025. Due to competition from Chinese manufacturers like BYD and GWM, it is now possible to pick up a range of new EVs well under the $40,000 mark.
Charging in the wild.
On the day we picked up our EV, we still hadn't decided what we would do about charging the thing. We climbed into the car and saw the battery charge was at 25%. So our very first journey in our new EV was from the dealership in Ringwood to the Tesla bank of chargers in Middleborough Road, Box Hill. As this was the first time charging our car at a Tesla supercharger, or any other brand of charger, I'll admit that there were many questions, some anxieties, and we weren't all that sure we had all the answers we needed. So, over a period of 5 to 10 minutes, we bumbled our way over the hurdles of downloading the Tesla app to the phone, creating a user account, entering payment details, making sure the thing was plugged in correctly. Plus, we had to figure out which buttons to press to initiate the process. I want to stress that, at this point, we quickly became very comfortable with doing this, and it is in no way a hassle. Then we wandered off to get a coffee, and when we returned, about 15 to 20 minutes later, we found that our battery charge had gone from 20% to 80% and had cost us around $15 to $20. We now know that Tesla chargers are among the most expensive, so we stopped using them. Early the following year, we drove to Sydney for an exhibition called Everything Electric. On that trip, with the help of phone apps such as ChargeFox and EV Charging, we had zero problems finding or using chargers. Also on that trip, we never had to queue for a charger. Any range anxiety we may have had evaporated on that trip. On a most recent trip to San Remo and Phillip Island, it was apparent that the ratio between EVs and available chargers had not kept up. There are now many more EVs on the road competing for the available chargers, resulting in queuing becoming a more common experience. This was the first time that I had to queue on a road trip. Each time I needed to charge, I had to queue for around 5 to 10 minutes.
Charging at home.
Firstly, I'd like to emphasize that the vast majority of charging that EV owners do is at home. We use the public EV charging infrastructure rarely. We can do this because we have off-street parking. When we arrived home with our new EV, the first thing I did was give our local electrician a call to ask about installing a charger for our EV. What he said surprised me. He said, "You probably don't need to do that. You'll probably get by installing a 15-amp power point in your carport." We followed the advice and found it to be perfectly adequate. Our experience with the frequency of charging is that we generally charge once or twice a week, overnight for about 6 to 8 hours at a cost of about $3 to $4.
The best thing about owning an EV.
We never have to buy expensive petrol again. In the 3 years I've had the EV, I've spent around $1,000 on a set of tyres, Next to nothing, maybe $200 on servicing, plus car insurance. That's it. We bought our EV with a 7-year warranty. About a year later, MG informed us that they were increasing the warranty from 7 to 10 years. They are wonderful to drive.
This story was read by Rebecca Rose, Adrian Rice, and James Poyner.